Hello everybody, so I'm back for episode 4. So in this video I'm going to show you kind of how I prepared the soil, and then I'm also going to transplant the pumpkin plant. So I'm just going to show you my setup here. So here's my garden. As you can see, I'm kind of growing under a high tunnel. I use it to support hail net because we get a lot of hail here. I live actually in Hail Alley, so not the ideal conditions here. It's kind of almost necessary if you don't want to get hailed out during the season. So basically what I did here is I originally had cover crop growing, so as you can kind of see that. So the first thing I did was I mowed it kind of with a brush mower, and then after that I then tilled it once over, and then I had a soil test done, earlier. I'd amended according to that soil test. I added a bunch of sulfur because my pH was crazy high, and a few other things. I can't really give any specific recommendations that applies to anyone else, just because every soil test is different. But that's kind of what I did. Is I just amended towards the soil test. I actually used I think many people actually use this, the Brian Langley's, I can't pronounce that right, but Brian Langley's soil calculator. A lot of other giant pumpkin growers use that. I'm just starting to learn how to use it, so I'm kind of learning things about that too. But that kind of tells you, here's your current soil, add any kind of amendments you want, and this is going to be your final soil, and you try to kind of dial in the specific ratios. So ratios are more important, like as far as like specific ratios of some nutrient and other nutrient are more important than the actual numbers of that nutrient. You don't want to go crazy high because then you'll burn. You don't want to go crazy low because then you're not going to grow anything. But typically, somewhere in an ideal range is good. But again, balancing your nutrients is more important than like having exact specific numbers. So after I tilled everywhere, what I did is I dug an 8-foot wide by 8-foot long by around 2-foot deep hole. I actually had a friend come over and help me because it's kind of a lot of work to do with just a shovel. But after I did that, I buried a 120-foot long heating cable, which is actually used for to melt ice in your gutters on your roof. But it works just as well for me. I've had experiences with heating cables that are designed to heat soil, but I found that they just don't last from season to season, and it's kind of annoying to have to replace them year after year after year, and they just don't really work so well. So I've been using the gutter heating cables for your house, and they seem to work really good. So basically I put them in before the snowstorm, so that's been around a week ago, and that's usually you can, if you have the better weather, it's nice to get it in there earlier, like 2 to 3 weeks ahead, because then you can have the soil warm long enough to start kind of waking up the soil's biology and kind of start waking up some of the microbes. But my weather doesn't allow that for that, so I try to get it around a week ahead of time, or 5 days or so, and try to get the soil around 72 degrees, 75 degrees, somewhere around there. I actually hook up a thermostat to that soil heating cable to try to keep it in that zone. So after I filled the hole for the soil heating cables and buried them, I then put my super nice wooden cold frame that I built a couple of years ago on top of that to try to kind of keep in the heat. You don't want to heat the soil and have that really cold weather outside, 20 degrees or something, and just making it slower to heat the soil. I know some people just put black plastic down. That works too, I guess. I just had my really nice cold frame that I just put out. And then the snowstorm hit, so kind of got covered in snow. It held up though, so it didn't get crushed. But it was just pretty much today, or even just yesterday, when snow finally actually just melted out. So lucky that it melted out so fast. So now we're gonna get transplanting. So today is April 30th again, and I'm just gonna show you kind of what my setup is inside the cold frame. So I got a thermometer there, and humidity sensor. I got that thermostat that I was talking about earlier. It actually controls two things. It controls the soil heating cables, and it also controls this space heater. So that's kind of for air temperature, then this is for soil temperature to try to mitigate the freezing nights that we're still getting. And then I have a soil thermometer here too, just to kind of confirm what this one is saying. Kind of, somewhere around there. Okay, so then I dug a pretty big hole, so quite a bit bigger than the actual plant pot, partly because I want to kind of loosen the soil even more, kind of right around the plant, and then also I want to add a few amendments. So here are the amendments. I kind of already pre-mixed them. So basically what it is, it's I think 5 cups of wiggle worm castings, half a cup of 934 fertilizer, which I guess is the fertilizer I've been using all along. I actually thought it was 10-10-10 fertilizer, but it was actually 9-3-4 fertilizer. So yeah, my bad. So that's that same kind of orange fertilizer I've been using all along. So a half cup of that. It's got a bunch of really good stuff in it. It's got like bone meal. It's got fish bone meal. It's got feather meal. It's got all sorts of other good stuff in it. And then I also add some 284 Gaia Green fertilizers. That's got another bunch of other really good stuff too. Rock dust, kind of bunch of awesome organic slow release fertilizers in that. And then what else did I add? Okay, yeah, that's right. I added 1 cup, I think. Yeah, 1 cup of the mycorrhizal inoculant. And then 2 tablespoons of Azos, 2 tablespoons of Root Shield, a half a cup of that powdered molasses stuff. That's kind of feeds the microbes, and then I kind of mix that up all into this. And so then here's my wheelbarrow of dirt that I excavated from the hole. So I'm just gonna mix this in here, and then this is gonna be the dirt that we're gonna backfill the plant in. So just kind of spread this all around here, and I'll update you once I get this all mixed up. Okay, I got it all mixed up. I just transferred some of it into the 5-gallon bucket, a little easier to manage, and instead of having to shovel it in here. So basically, here's our hole, and here's our plant pot, and it's kind of doing the same thing that we did when we're transplanting the seedlings indoors. So we're gonna have this kind of little insert here that we're gonna try to fill around at the appropriate height with this mixture here. So I'm gonna just add a little bit of that stuff into the hole. So hard to do this with one hand. Anyway, dump some of that in there. Okay, kind of put up a few more. Alright, come on. There we go. Okay. Okay, so I'll just kind of keep doing this until I get until I fill it around the pot and get that kind of same mold. So I'll bring it back in a few. Okay, so I got that done. As you can kind of see, I put the pot in at a little bit of an angle. So that's supposed to facilitate the main vine of the plant once we put it in here to kind of lay down easier instead of growing straight up and then cracking, and then your season's over. Also, it's kind of overcast, and it's also kind of in the evening. It's 6 o'clock right now, so that's kind of what you want when you transplant it outside for the first time, especially if you haven't hardened off the plants as well as you should have, partly because of the snowstorm. So I didn't really actually get a chance to harden off the plants. I only got a few days in when you really should get a good 5 up to a week of incremental increases of sunshine, and that just didn't happen, partly because there's crazy wind, and then like the snowstorm, so that didn't happen. So this is gonna hopefully reduce transplant shock, and then kind of slow start, because it's not used to this environment. Hopefully it works out well. And also I have some boards laying down, as you can kind of see. So this is for me to walk on. You don't want to walk directly on your soil, especially in the area where your cold frame is, because you really want to keep it loose for the young plants. You don't want to compact it, don't want to step on it. By stepping on these boards, you're kind of distributing your weight over a larger surface area, so you're not really compacting it nearly as much as if you just put your foot down on this nice loamy stuff. So I guess that's kind of it for now. I guess we just need to get the plants, so I'll bring it back then. Okay, so here's my plant of choice. I'll probably plant a second one, kind of double plant later, kind of maybe a little bit off to the side there. But this is, I think, the best looking plant of the 3 I started. This is the part where it's so hard to choose just 1 or 2 plants, since they all look really good, and it's just you're gonna feel like you're gonna kick yourself later in the season if things go wrong, because could have chosen another plant. But it's really hard to do it. But you base it off of kind of how the leaves look, how healthy the leaves look. If they're burned kind of too bad or not. Kind of also want to look on the secondaries. Kind of look on the secondary, see how they're developing, etc. Kind of look overall how kind of normal the plant looks. If there's some weird kind of double leaf thing going on, that's something to kind of be wary of. But yeah, no, it's honestly, it's a really hard choice to decide it. But I think hopefully this plant will come through. So I guess there's nothing else to do but get it in the ground. Okay, so to transplant them, we're gonna take this mold pot out. We're gonna peel off the duct tape strips, and then along with all the other stuff I added, I'm gonna add in the hole directly. Just kind of spread them around. 3 Wow Super Starter Packs. So these are essentially like slow release fertilizer, but they're like trapped in like tea bags. So like extra slow release, they like feed nutrients or something up like 4 months or something. Really good product. And then also just gonna say, this is the first true leaf here. So all these leaves, this is the first true leaf. The main vine grows in the opposite direction of that. So you wanna make sure you orient the pot so that the first true leaf points in the opposite direction where you want the vine to fall. Or actually, I think maybe a potentially better explanation here is that if this is the second true leaf and this is the third true leaf, the main vine will kind of fall kind of in between these two. It's kind of where you want to grow, and so this will be like one leaf, another leaf, and then kind of alternate back and forth, and then you get your vine. So it's really getting dark here fast, so I'm going to try to get this in the ground really quick. I'll then update you once I get it in the ground. So it went in the ground successfully. I didn't have any like big major issues like the main breaking off or leaves breaking off or anything, so that's always a little bit of a relief. But the next hurdle it's going to have to go through is making it through the night. So the forecast says it's going to be like 28 degrees low, so that's always a little bit nerve-wracking, but hopefully with the heater, space heater and the soil heating cables and then the whole cold frame sealed shut, that it should at least keep it above freezing. Maybe hopefully around 50 to 5 degrees or so would be nice. But I'll update you in the morning, and we'll see or not. We'll see if it froze or not. I really hope it doesn't. So until then, bye. So I made it through the night. According to this thermometer, which actually hooks up to my phone via Bluetooth, the lowest temperature it ever got inside the cold frame was only like 58 degrees. So it's like balmy in here at night. So that's awesome. Didn't get anywhere near close to freezing. So that, I guess that means my setup's working, which is good to know. But a few things that I just did right now was I just cut off the seed leaves, because at this stage, all these big leaves here, seed leaves are shadowed by them, and they're not really doing anything, and they just kind of collect on they just kind of are on the ground, and they just, get dirty, and there's just no point in, having them rot away. So I just cut those off, carefully cut them off. And then also what I did is when you transplant the plant, what oftentimes happens is that you kind of get dirt all over the plant. It's just the nature of things. So what I do is I just take a little spray bottle of water and then just spritz off and kind of, clean the plant a little bit. So just make sure there's not any dirt on the leaves and not any dirt on the little secondary vines and other stuff, because that'll block, light from getting to them, and it'll stunt their growth there. So I guess the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a biological drench. So I'm going to give it some essential, some companion, some humic acid, and some seaweed. And so hopefully that'll kick this plant in overdrive. I just wanted to quickly say that for the first couple drenches, you don't want to use any really high-powered chemical fertilizer. So maybe like the next drench, I'll use maybe some fish or something, which is also kind of organic, but a little bit more nutrients than this one. But again, I don't think you should use chemicals, at least for, I don't know, 5 days maybe? I don't know, 3, 4, 5 days when it's in the ground, because that's kind of a little bit too strong for when the plant's already experiencing stress from transplanting, and so you don't want to add to that stress by, having a super high, concentrated fertilizer on top of that. And then also all the stuff we added in the hole. I mean, we added a bunch of good stuff in the hole, and that's also fertilizer there. So you don't want to, overdo it and be a moron. Get it? Like you're a moron. So this is I think, going to be a really good first drench, since it's just kind of, organic, kind of low-key, but it's going to be, good organic source of, nutrients. So let's just give that to the plant now. I'm going to kind of water it around the base of the plant, maybe like a 4-foot circle or something. This is 2 gallons here, or maybe slightly under 2 gallons. But I'll just do that, and I'll update you once I get that done. Got the 2 gallons of solution, watered in around the plant. So I think this should be enough water until, so today's like, what, Sunday? So Tuesday would be probably the next drench I do. Probably every other day, since the soil in this, cold frame, when it's closed up or mostly closed up, doesn't really dry out too fast. And then again, at this stage, they're not using a ton of water, so, you don't want to overwater. So every other day would be probably good. So that's pretty much all I'm going to do today. We're just going to have to wait for that main vine to kind of grow out and start vining. As far as just like taking care of the plant, you want to make sure that, nighttime temperatures are, kind of warm. With you have your little space heater here. This is actually an oscillating heater, so it kind of rotates when it heats, so it's more even heating and not like it's like some hot spot right where the plant is. I do recommend that, so less chance of burning your leaves when they get too close. I think that's what happened last year when I had a non-oscillating heater. Also, during the day, you want to make sure the cold frame's vented. I have it open like a lot because I'm working under it. But see, these metal angle irons fold out to kind of prop it open like 30 degrees or something. But you do want to have it vented because, it can get crazy hot here, during the middle of the day when it really heats up. I've easily had over 120 degrees in here without the plant, when I leave it all closed up. So you definitely don't want that to happen. So make sure you're venting your cold frame during the day, and then having it all closed up and sealed tight, and then have the heater on and the thermostat on during the night. And then as far as what I might actually do is put in a little grow light here, a small kind of strip light on either side here, and also in the front here, to try to get that main vine, try to grow towards it, try to get it laying down easier, not just growing straight up or something. It looks like it's doing a pretty nice job going out so far, but that extra little light in front, this is optional by the way, obviously, but this additional light will hopefully, it'll try to stretch towards it and kind of lay down easier, and then also provides, additional light in the cold frame. So, this is kind of, early in the year, so, it kind of gets dark really early and doesn't really get light, that early either. So there's short amount of light, I guess. It kind of gets, sun rises like 6:30 and then sets at like 7:30 or something. So that's not like the time that it was used to indoors when it was getting 16 hours of light, when this is really only getting like, what, 13 hours of light or something. So that extra little bit of light will help the plant, as well as, it's May, so it's not going to be bright and sunny like June, so it's mostly overcast. So that, again, that extra light will help it do a lot better, I think, hopefully. Anyway, I think that's all I have to show you right now. I'll do an update maybe Tuesday or a couple days, and I'll show you kind of how to do the next drench. As far as fertilizing goes, what I do is kind of a spoon feeding program. So instead of like fertilizing at like the recommended dose like once a week, I fertilize at like, a third the recommended dose, but I give it 3 times weekly. So I'm kind of giving little bits, a little bit, but 3 times a week. And then I'll alternate that, and then so in about a week I'll then add kind of the chemical fertilizers, and then that'll be on alternating schedule. So it'll be like Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, like the biologicals, like kind of what we just gave now, and then like Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday or something is going to be like the chemical fertilizers. And then each little time I give it, I'm giving fertilizer every time I water, but just a tiny amount, so it doesn't burn the plants, but it has this nice even steady amount of nutrients, so it doesn't produce these crazy growth spurts that can cause problems. But I think that's all I can show you right now. Again, I'll give you an update in a few days. So for now, bye. So I just put in some strip lights here in the cold frame. This is for supplemental lighting. So like what I was saying earlier, it's early in the year, so it's overcast for much of the day, and then on top of that, it gets dark early. The plant was used to 16 hours of light a day when it was inside, but now that it's outside, it's only getting like 13 hours a day. So I have these lights plugged into this outdoor timer to give it, again, 16 hours a day from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. So this is for supplemental lighting again. The sun's going to be on top. I know some growers put, a grow light on top too. those high-powered grow lights are like a ton of money, so I couldn't do that, but I at least tried to do this much. But basically, this light's going to aid in the main vine to fall over, so it's going to grow towards the light and hopefully grow kind of this way and not like growing up and then falling over and cracking. And then as far as this light, that's just going to aid in, you know, extra light. But later, a couple weeks from now, when it gets a little bit bigger, these lights are going to hopefully, like basically what this light did for this main vine, it's going to do for the secondary vines. So it's going to hopefully kind of draw out those secondary vines early. So kind of what a problem that I've had in the past is that, you know, these big, huge leaves, they kind of, shadow the secondary vines. And so, at least for me in the past, they've kind of gotten stunted that way just because they don't really get any light. So later, in the season, you know, a couple weeks from now, I'll take, some little like, coffee stir wooden stick things that'll prop up, the leaves. And then I'll have this light that'll shine in there, and that'll hopefully, get those secondaries growing out early, because I know in years past I've had these really long main vine and like virtually no secondaries, and so the secondaries come on really late, and so that's not good because you want a big plant early on for pollination, and without the secondaries you're not going to have a big plant. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you. It's getting dark here, so I'll call it a night, but I'll give you another update soon here. Today is May 3rd. It's a Tuesday, and I'm going to give its first chemical drench. So I've mixed 1.5 teaspoons of 12-31-14 Plant Marvel fertilizer in 2 gallons of water, and we're going to drench it around here. So it's actually big enough now that it's going to need 4 gallons. So I'm going to do, you know, 1 batch and then mix up again and then do another batch. So I'll, you know, drench it around the plant, and then I'll bring it back after I do that. So the plant is all fertilized. I think I said a few clips back that you should be watering every other day, but actually I take that back. For some reason with my soil and maybe the heater going, the soil's been kind of drying out, and I've actually had to be watering every day. So I've been doing 4 gallons for this area, and I think that's a better amount of water. So I'll update you on Wednesday when I do another biological drench. I am back. So today is Wednesday, May 4th, and I just kind of wanted to show you the plant. So if you look in here, here's the main vine. It looks like it's going to be touching down here shortly, but I just wanted to show you first is right here, that's the first secondary, that's the second secondary, or maybe this is the first secondary, this is the secondary, I don't really know which, but these ones back here, they kind of look like secondaries. These are like the first secondaries, like really old, like, you know, primary secondaries that really don't grow very strong. So what I'm just going to do is just snip them off really quick. So I'll just go ahead and do that. So that stuff is trimmed off and everything else is cleaned up. And so now we're going to give it another biological drench like we did on Sunday, except without the essential and companion. But we're also going to add this stuff, fish and guano fertilizer. This is my first year trying it, but it looks like it's got some good stuff in it, good numbers. So I'm doing 1 teaspoon per gallon, and then 2 batches of 2 gallons on my water can. So I'll bring it back once I do that. Okay, so the plant is all fertilized. I actually forgot to tell you the mixing rate for the 5-2 humic acid, fulvic acid, and seaweed fertilizers, so I apologize on that. The actual like label rate per week is 3/8 teaspoon per gallon, and so since I'm fertilizing 3 times a week for that particular fertilizer, I cut that rate by 1/3. So that would be 1/8 teaspoon per gallon per 3 times a week. So I just wanted to clarify on that. Anyway, I think that's all I can show you tonight. I'll do another update tomorrow, so that's Thursday, when we give the plant another chemical drench like we did on Tuesday. I've opened the cold frame long enough that it's getting fairly cold in here, so I'm going to shut this and let the heater kind of warm it up to its optimum temperature, leave it over the night, and then I'll update you tomorrow. So for now, bye. I'm back. So today is Thursday, May 5th, and so I just did a little adjustment here, so I'm just going to zoom in here so you can see what I did here. So you see these little short dowels here that I kind of stuck in the ground. So I try to move this 5th leaf a little bit over so there's a little more room for the main vine to grow. And then also this is the 2nd leaf, So what we call this is this kickstand leaf, just because it kind of props up the vine. And so I've tried to avoid cutting it, but it's propping up the main vine too much, and I don't want it to crack. And so most growers do cut it, and I mean, you know, you do what you have to do, right? So what I'm gonna do is just slice off this leaf. You know, it's old, it's really deep green, it's shaded by all these other leaves. It's pretty much doing nothing for the overall, you know, photosynthesis. So I'm just gonna slice it off, but I'm gonna be very careful to not damage that secondary that's right next to it. So I'll bring you back once I do that. Okay, so that's done. It's kind of a shame to cut such a big and, you know, healthy leaf like this, but it really was kind of getting in the way and dragging on the ground. You know, it was shaded by all the other leaves. It pretty much wasn't really doing much for the plant. So that one's off. I also ended up cutting the first true leaf off. Again, it was just dragging on the ground, and it really wasn't doing anything, and probably could be collecting bugs and whatnot, which is, you know, not good. So anyway, so that's done. I also kind of readjusted the dowels a little bit, so that main vine's got a nice clear path to grow. Anyway, yeah, so it's Thursday again, so I'm going to give it another chemical drench like what I did on Tuesday. So I'll bring you back once I get that all mixed up and then applied. Okay, so the plant's all fertilized, and then just to clarify it, I gave it 4 gallons just like on Tuesday. So it's 2 batches of 2 gallons, and then each 2-gallon batch got 1.5 teaspoons of the 12-31-14 plant marble fertilizer. So that's 3 teaspoons total, or 1 tablespoon. I think this is going to be the end of this episode. Friday is just going to be like Wednesday. Saturday is just going to be like today. Sunday is going to be like last Sunday, where except without the seaweed, since the seaweed goes with on Monday. So Sunday is just the essential and companion. But again, just Monday, Wednesday, Friday is the organics, and then the Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday is the chemical. So there's really not much to show you there. It's just going to be just kind of, you know, repetition, you know, reiteration. It's going to be kind of boring to watch, so I won't include it at all. But I will update you once the main vine starts to lay down and the plant starts growing good. Once it, you know, gets, I don't know, what, 6 feet, 7-8 feet long or so, I'll switch from the 12-31-14 to the 14-5-22 plant marble fertilizer, or maybe I actually got some other fertilizer up my sleeve. I'm not sure yet, but I'll let you know what I use when the time comes. But anyway, I think that's going to be it for now. So anyway, so be on the lookout for the next episode. So for now, bye.